I feel no pleasure in reporting this, but Michael Bloomberg has indeed surged in some national polls. So let me show you the Real Clear Politics average of polls here. Now, I will say up front, yes, there are criticisms of the Real Clear Politics average. It's not like perfectly objective, but I do think that in this instance, when it comes to Bloomberg, you do get a relatively accurate snapshot here. So I want to show you this because, yeah, it really is something else. So Bloomberg's line is the yellow line, and you could see that from when he jumped in the race until now, it's a giant spike up. Now, I'm going to get to the specifics on that in a second, but take a look at, this is really something else. Take a look at who he hopped in front of, because that's the real story here. So let's just go down the line with all the numbers. You have Biden at 28.5, Bernie at 17.8, Warren at 15.3, Buttigieg at 9.0. Then you have Bloomberg at 5.5, and this means he leapfrogged Harris, Yang, Klobuchar, Booker, Steyer, Tulsi, Castro, Bennett, Delaney, Deval Patrick, and Marianne Williamson. So he just hopped in the race, and somehow 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. He leapfrogged 11 people, many of them having participated in multiple debates. Now, this is where it's a reasonable question to go, well, hold on now, Kyle. How did that happen? Is this because he's proposing a message that people, it's resonating with people? Is that why this happened? No. That brings me to the next tweet. TV ad spend by 2020 Democrats through the week of December 17th. Look at this, guys. Bloomberg, $100.6 million. Steyer, $81.2 million. Bernie, $8.6 million. Buttigieg, $7.2 million. Yang, $4.7 million. Biden, $2.2 million. Warren, $1.9 million. Klobuchar, $1.8 million. Bennett, $1.1. Gabbard, $1 million. Guys, Homeboy hopped in the race. Homeboy is a multi-billionaire. Homeboy drops $100 million of his own money on the race, carpet bombing the airwaves with his ads, and that's his entire strategy. He hasn't even been in any of the debates yet. He's openly said, who, me, bro? Me? I'm going to skip the first 4 contests. I'm just going to skip them. How is that even a thing? Like, yeah, I'm going to run for president, but, like, I don't know, screw that state, screw that state, screw that state, and screw that state. I think that's flat out disrespectful to the voters in those states. But just leapfrogging the first contests, going right to Super Tuesday, and his whole strategy, I don't even care if I'm in debates. I'm just going to carpet bomb the airwaves. $100 million of his own money he's spending to try to get himself elected. Listen, this is real oligarchy stuff. This is real oligarchy stuff. Nobody could do what he's doing other than another billionaire. And Steyer's a billionaire, and he's even struggling to break through. But for whatever reason, his ads are more effective, I guess, Bloomberg's than Steyer's. But this shouldn't be allowed. A billionaire just hops in the race. I'm going to spend a crazy amount of money. But see, then that gets to the next conversation, which is, well, hold on now. So a billionaire can't jump in the race and spend their own money, but how is that really all that different from candidates who are funded based off of corporate money and billionaire money and PAC money? How's that different? It's really not that different. The billionaire is spending his own money, and obviously he has a special interest group of one himself, but a lot of the candidates have special interest groups of various different corporations and various other billionaires, an amalgamation of like 8 billionaires, for example. So, and then when you stop and think about it, you realize, well, actually, those are equally gross things, aren't they? I mean, in the case of Bloomberg, it's got a little extra tinge of like, ugh, to it, because he just hopped the line solely by opening up his wallet. So it seems like extra gross. But in principle, it's really not that different from the other candidates that don't really have that much popular grassroots support, but they're just so immensely propped up by the endless amount of corporate money and billionaire money and military industrial complex money and Wall Street money and lobbyist money and whatever it might be. So, I mean, listen, the main takeaway from this story is we have to move away from being an oligarchy and a kleptocracy and a plutocracy. We have to move towards a clean election system. So, I mean, the real answer is, as you guys know, the Wolfpack Amendment that they're currently fighting for, and I give credit to all those people fighting for that amendment, and that's the move is to get a constitutional amendment to say we're banning private money from the election, and from now on we only do clean, publicly financed elections. That's one way to do it, through a constitutional amendment. And then another way you could do it is through a democracy dollars move, which is an idea that many candidates support, including Kirsten Gillibrand and Andrew Yang. And Ro Khanna. Basically, it's like you give the American people each like 100 or 200 billion. Oh, please. We don't have Bloomberg money. We give the American people 100 or 200 bucks each, and then they pick like, okay, I want to spend this money on this candidate and that candidate and that candidate, and then you get rid of all the private money. Well, actually, in the case of the Clean Elections Law, that wouldn't be the case because the Supreme Court ruled that money is free speech that billionaires spend on the election, so you couldn't address it from that aspect of it. But at least you can counteract some of that big money by having more small money involved, as the government giving you like a tax credit or whatever of 100 or 200 bucks, and then you get to spend that however you see fitting. I mean, I think the real answer is marrying both of those things. The constitutional amendment to get money out of politics, private money, and then on top of that, a democracy dollars move. And I think that that's the only way that we can have real, free and fair elections where it's like the main thing at play here is, what do you believe? What do you believe? How good of a campaigner are you? Convince people to support you. That's really the only way we'd have true, free and fair elections. Because right now, you're going to have a skewed system. Every now and then, we overtake the power of the money, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, outspent 10-1 by corporate Democrat extraordinaire Joe Crowley. She still won, thank God. And there are other examples as well. But there will always be a situation where probably most of the time, the candidate with the most money is going to do better. So in the case of Bloomberg, he literally just bought himself 5.5%. He just bought it. He bought it. He flat out bought it. If you give him the same institutional backing and the same level of support as a lower tier candidate, like Bennett, for example, he'd be right where Bennett is. But he just bought that 5.5%. So nobody should be okay with that, because obviously it's not the case that this is like, hey, it's an election, we're having a battle of competing ideas and philosophies, and whichever one you like wins. No, that's not the way it works. That's just a naive view. It should be like that, but it's not like that. So we need reform to change the system, because this is so gross. Whether it's the person's taking corporate money, lobbyist money, military industrial complex money, or they're just a billionaire opening up their own wallet, either way, it's a gross advantage, and that shouldn't be something that determines the amount of support you get. It should obviously just be based off of your ideas and the grassroots support. So right now, we need to override all these ghouls by throwing popular support behind Bernie and doing the best we can to get him elected and knocking on doors and making phone calls and doing text messages and all that fun stuff. Because he doesn't have the billions of dollars he can just spend on the race. He needs us. He needs us. I'm a monthly donor to him, and I'm proud to be, and I'm sure a lot of you are too. But it's like, this is what we're up against. We're up against an utter clown who doesn't have a popular philosophy, who just bought 5.5% just like that. I'm carpet bombing the airwaves. I don't care. I'm not even participating in the debate. Screw the debates. I'm above them. I'm above the debates. I'm an oligarch. I get to do what I want. And he's doing it. He's drowning out your voice and my voice. That's what he's doing. He's drowning out our voice with his money. And he's also, another under-discussed fact, is he's bought legitimacy in the eyes of the media, because he has Bloomberg News. All the people in mainstream media might eventually want to work for him. So they're going to treat him with kid gloves. You got MSNBC, all these people singing his praise, but he's a serious candidate. They're doing that because he just did a $100 billion ad buy. He's making these companies rich. He's giving them money. Of course they're going to be nice to him. He's the gravy train. You don't bite the hand that feeds you. Now, I don't care because I don't get paid by him. I get paid by you guys through patreon.com/secular talk. You guys give me $3 at a time, $5 at a time. You guys are my boss. We also have an ad program, but I've never spoken to an advertiser because there's a buffer between me and the advertiser. I don't even know what runs on my videos, which is a fine system. It's a decent system. Obviously, YouTube's messed up in 1,000 different ways. But in the case of Bloomberg, definitely the people in mainstream media are like, whether they're open about it or not, definitely the approach is like, we're going to treat him like he's a serious candidate for a variety of reasons. It's just disgusting, man. It's just gross. I hate it. The thing that's like so stunning is we're watching it in real time. It's happening right in front of us. Like, dude with no popular backing, $100 million in ads. Well, now we know what that gets you. 5.5%. Hopefully, his support peters out and he becomes more like Steyer. And it's just like, no matter how much, you're just lighting your money on fire. We can only hope that that's the case.